Rohit has written in asking, does expense ratio matter in equity funds? Should I consider it while choosing the fund?
Expense always matters because the return that you get is less expenses. And so if a fund has 2% expense, and if you are getting 10% return, the fund actually earned 12% and you are getting 10%. So always look at expense. But the design of the regulatory framework for equity fund is such that it is all predictable. It is mandated by the law and everybody hits the ceiling. So the rule is that up to 500 crore, a fund is supposed to charge 2%. Next 500, it is supposed to charge 1.75% and then 1.5%. And there are two lines of expenses. These are all for the regular plans, the funds which are sold through the intermediary. There is a parallel track. If you choose a fund yourself, then there is a direct plan and the expenses are always lower. And the difference in the regular and the direct plan is the amount of commission paid. So if a fund is paying very high commission, the direct plans will be cheaper. If a fund is paying lower commission, then the difference between the regular and the direct will be marginal. So it ranges between 0.5% to 1% because intermediaries get anywhere between 0.5% to 1%, and that is the difference. So expense matters, but there is one catch here. Don't be guided don't be completely guided by the expense of an equity fund, because the regulation has mandated that a fund gets larger, it is supposed to charge lower fee. And becoming a large fund is also an impediment to performance. Big funds struggle to perform many a times. So you earn more if you're small. So in that sense, it's a catch.
So therefore, bigger the fund.
In case of equity fund, don't be entirely guided, particularly in small and mid-cap funds.
So should I shy away from such funds?
Yeah, very big, small, very big mid-cap fund or small-cap fund, one should not be guided by expenses, because being small is an advantage. They tend to do better. The fund manager has a greater flexibility, maneuverability, his ability to make changes and having an positive impact on the fund performance is meaningful. So don't be overly guided. In debt funds, expense matter, because they're the 0.5%, because these are very narrowly the returns of debt fund is in a very narrow range. So assuming that a fund gets you 10%, earns you 10%, and 1% expense or 0.5% expense can actually be very meaningful part. It could be 5% of the return. In case of equity, sometimes you get 30%, 40%. Some year you don't get as much. But in those kind of performance, that expense becomes relatively meaningless or very immaterial. But it always matters.